Hi, everyone. It is the 4th of April, 2026. I hope you're all doing well. Um, I guess we do have just those rainy days because today was one of them. And it was very gray. It still is. And boy, I went on this morning to look at radar because I was not feeling well. And sure enough, right in Arkansas, right where I live, these frequencies are shooting into that weather front. Now, can I say definitively that I wasn't feeling well because of the frequencies? No. But you got to wonder. Hi, Sandra. Hello, Sandra. Scrappy D. I haven't seen you in a while. Hi. Amelia. Hi. Um, Andrew Cruz. Rage Against the Machine and Chris C. And Dr. Evals, Linda Gordon. Hi. All right, that's it. So let's do radar and get into it. Oh, yes, here we go. From, and it's stretching to the border right here in Texas, all the way on up to Canada. Perfectly natural. Not. Look how it's got these little tails on it, and yep, they're stretching it on out. All right. We do have some severe weather. We had severe weather yesterday, day before that, and I really hope that you guys never have to pay or suffer the consequences. And look at all the little blips occurring. Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. Oh, man. All the way on up. North Carolina. No, this is not how Mother Nature ever created her weather. But we've got them in Pennsylvania. So, are we looking at more storms that are east of this fabulous, long, very long weather front? Could be. So we have 5 active severe weather warnings from Michigan, Tennessee, Texas. Tornado warning up here. Okay. We've got a tornado warning in Macomb and Oakland, Michigan. Got special marine warnings, severe thunderstorm warning, Jim Wells, Kleberg, Nuisance, I don't know. I'm sorry, Texas, and Clay Jackson, Macon, Smith, Trousdale, Tennessee. Oh, man. Special marine warnings up north, Michigan area. So weather-wise as well, Ohio, you don't seem to be getting out of these thunderstorms. It's 3 days of severe thunderstorms for you. Broken line of thunderstorms will move quickly east, northeastward this afternoon, evening, while posing a threat for mainly scattered, severe, damaging winds. All right. Well, you guys know what to do. You got a lot of little flood warnings. Flood warning here in Indiana, Illinois. Look at all of them. Wow. Wisconsin, Michigan. Flood watch in Michigan, Detroit on up to Sandusky. Oh, man. Kentucky, you've got a severe potential. Watch unlikely. All right. Strong winds coming to you. And Missouri, frost advisory. Wow, this weather is really pretty just all over the place. It is 66 degrees. When yesterday it was like 86 degrees, the 20-degree plummet, you know, that'll go on, I think, until tomorrow. And then it goes back up into the high 80s. Okay. This is not good for our immune system. Not at all. All right. I didn't even listen to this. I thought we could listen to max velocity just for a few minutes. I will post the link. And no way. Nobody is ready for this weather shift. Yeah. Sometimes I just like reading the titles. This weather shift.
The weather is about to change in a big way. But first, we have 2 more days of severe weather that will close out a very active week of weather. Starting today from the Ohio Valley to the Gulf Coast, all hazards will be possible, including damaging winds, large hail, and perhaps a few tornadoes. Another severe weather threat is also expected tomorrow along the East Coast. But severe weather is not the only story, as a significant winter storm and ice storm are forecasted to hit the Midwest and Great Lakes today. And that's not all, because models are hinting at yet again another winter storm and tornado threat next week. The weather is going to remain very active, so let's get right into the forecast. Now, we have a lot to talk about in today's forecast, and I want to jump right into the severe weather potential for today and tomorrow, beginning with today, which is a very large area. About 69 million people are at risk of severe storms today, stretching from Lake Erie all the way back into Texas. We have a slight risk also of severe weather in place for Detroit, Ohio, back into Pennsylvania, New York. Also a marginal threat that stretches again from Texas back into the Northeast. The biggest concern for today will be the risk of damaging winds. I think we're talking about 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts with some of these thunderstorms today. And this could be anywhere like Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, Shreveport, and Jackson. Storms are going to be pretty widespread today, so most of you are going to see at least a drop of rain, but a lot of you should end up seeing some thunderstorms today. So it'll be a pretty active day when it comes to thunderstorms, but not necessarily the severity of those storms. I think for the most part, it's going to be a low-end threat for severe weather most places.
Well, that's good. Now, this was posted 11 hours ago. And let's move it on up.
Fort Worth. That'll continue to crash down to the south and east going towards Waco. Shreveport this afternoon, mainly producing a risk of damaging winds. Yes, there could be a brief tornado somewhere, but I think the risk is pretty low. By the mid to late day, this will be moving across the Mississippi River Valley, moving into western Mississippi. It might be worth having your camera ready because there'll probably be a pretty decent shelf cloud later today. And as we go into the evening hours, that line will start to fall apart as it moves into Alabama, southern Mississippi, and also Louisiana. And for those along the East Coast, we're going to have a lot of thunderstorms out there today. Again, we are talking about widespread thunderstorms from Michigan back into Arkansas and Texas. So by around lunchtime, those storms will continue to push.
Okay, so there weren't, well, in my area of Arkansas, there was not any thunderstorms. But, all right, I'm going to post the link. And all I can say is be aware of the weather. Now, fires in California. We can lose everything. Springs fire, and this is in Southern California. I think it borders Riverside County. Riverside is Riverside County.
The flames of the Springs fire now burning through more than 4,100 acres in Moreno Valley.
It's overwhelming because we can lose everything.
Residents in the neighborhood near Doral Way and Ryder Way are under mandatory evacuation orders as the fire creeps dangerously close to homes.
And yeah, it's been nerve-wracking just because it's been getting closer and closer.
Many deciding to stay, watering down their roofs and lawns, but say they're packed and ready to go.
Still a lot of things I'm going to have to leave behind, and you know, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes sometimes when you come into a situation like this.
The fire.
So this was 5 hours ago, and well, this was posted, that's 15 hours ago. There was another one. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. I think they have it pretty much contained. Well, at least it's not 25%. The last I saw was 45%. The last video that I thought that I had brought up was Spring Fire Erupts on Forbes channel, but I think they were taking it from hours before, and that is very irresponsible. You know, for the people who live there and see it's erupted again, all right. I don't think it has, because I tried to find more information about it and I couldn't. So I think things are okay for this fire. I really hope that it just stays that way. Now, these winds are, it's just almost like a daily happening somewhere. High winds, hurricane winds. And unfortunately, you know, considering the huge hail, the tornadoes, the hurricane winds all over the place, you would think people would begin to really question it, but I guess they're not. And I really hope, I think this is a chicken coop, so I hope there's no chickens in there. No, I don't think so.
A powerful storm system swept across the southern plains on the evening of Friday, April 3rd, 2026, triggering a significant tornado outbreak that left a trail of destruction across central and eastern Oklahoma. National Weather Service, NWS, meteorologists and local emergency responders have been working through the night to assess the impact of multiple confirmed tornadoes that struck several communities, including the Oklahoma City, OKC, metro area, and Shawnee. The severe weather event began late Friday afternoon as a potent cold front collided with warm, moist air surging from the Gulf of Mexico. By approximately 4:45 p.m., a tornado watch was issued for western Oklahoma, with storm cells quickly intensifying near Thomas. As the evening progressed, the focus shifted toward the more densely populated regions of the state. One particularly dangerous storm moved through the OKC metro between 5:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., impacting areas such as El Reno, Oklahoma City, Norman, and Chickasha.
Now, this video, it doesn't really show the damage that is spoken, and I'm not entirely sure, because I was looking for articles and everything. Well, it's Saturday, okay, so maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, we'll find out more. But whether it is in Oklahoma or Arkansas, huge hail, you know, once again, the just golf ball size. And when I see that, I know there's damage, right? Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Oklahoma City, storm damage, power lines, of course, power outages, 9 view all photos. So I don't think it's that bad. I hope. Well, I can't seem to view the photos. But I have seen trampolines, power lines down, right? That's every storm, you know. Huge trees down. This is Defiance, Ohio. So you really do need to be very aware of what is taking place with your weather. Flooding from 3 water main breaks, Memphis, Tennessee. 3, okay? 3. Okay. What's going on? Where is, all right.
In northeast Memphis caused major flooding and even created what police called a flooding sinkhole. disrupting traffic along Covington Pike and impacting nearby businesses. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is here in studio with how employees say this all unfolded.
That's right, Kevin. For people working near Covington Pike, this all happened really quickly. Employees at Caliber Collision Body Shop says that what started as a main break turned into something that left their business without water, forcing them to adjust on the spot.
I was just glad that the car didn't obviously go any further in the hole and that the kids that were inside the car were okay.
That relief comes after what Memphis police described as a flooding sinkhole that opened along Covington Pike after multiple water main breaks sent water rushing across the road on April 3rd. Employees at a nearby business, including Caliber Collision, say that it happened fast and caught them off guard.
It wasn't a hole at first. It was just like the ground was just like bulged out real bad. And I was like, dang, I called back to work and I'm like, the pipes busted outside. But I was using the restroom and I'm trying to wash my hands and I'm like, the water not working. I come out the bathroom, I'm like, the water ain't working, y'all. They're like, what? What happened? And we was just clueless, but we can't wash cars, like we can't detail, we can repair things, but that's about it.
And with water service disrupted, work at the shop has been limited. Employees.
Wow. But the infrastructure in our country has really deteriorated. This is China, a hailstorm in China. Look at this.
On the evening of April 2nd, 2026.
Wow.
A devastating hailstorm struck Guiyang, the capital of Guizhou province in southern China. Icy hailstones rained down along with the rain.
Remember when hail was rare? Remember? It was rare. Now it's so common, it's like rain. All right. So thank you to the subscriber who sent this to me. Father and son incinerated in a Tesla after the car suddenly drove into a tree. Ah, man. Get rid of your Tesla if you have one.
Phone regarding a collision which provided the latitude and longitude of the location to our dispatch center. Shortly thereafter, our dispatch center received a 911 call from a member of the public reporting the incident at the intersection of Hampton Road and King Avenue. Officers arrived on scene to find a single vehicle collision fully engulfed in flames.
Self-driving.
Responding officers also observed an uninvolved party pulling one of the occupants from the vehicle.
It was a self-driving Tesla, veered off the road without warning, slammed into a tree, burst into flames. Okay. Vehicle's electric powered door handles became inoperable once the battery system caught fire. These are, it's Russian roulette every time somebody gets into one of these. They burn to death. Okay. So, how about another Musk story? Data center. Elon Musk's Mississippi power plant is affecting residents.
Home to more than 50,000 people, South Haven, Mississippi is a quiet suburb. That is, residents say, until Elon Musk's AI power plant came to town. For months now, this is the sound communities near the plant hear. All day and night.
Sounds like jets are taking off and they never take off.
Coming from dozens of methane turbines sent to power Elon Musk's AI data center.
That's the power plant, and we're getting a decibel reading here in the low 60s. That's about as loud as a dishwasher running 24/7 just steps from that house.
When I was a little girl, the garden was right over there.
Crystal Polk's family has lived here for generations, before Black people were even allowed to own property.
What has life been like for you since the turbines came to town?
Excruciating. The noise is constant. It never ends.
That's your quiet evening. Are you kidding?
Sometimes it's very, very, very loud with loud screeching and railing, like rails are hitting up against each other. That's just unbearable.
And it's not just a concern over noise, but air pollution too. Nonprofit newsroom Floodlight published this thermal drone footage, which they say shows the gas burning at the facility. The Environmental Protection Agency has said gas turbines are a major source of hazardous air pollutants, including formaldehyde and other probable human carcinogens.
I have severe asthma, and sometimes I can smell the pollution in the air, and I don't want to be exposed to that and cause more damage to myself.
The Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality telling NBC News right now they've confirmed the facility is utilizing efficient air pollution control technology to minimize emission, despite operating without an air permit for months, which the department said wasn't required for the initial temporary turbines.
We don't really know how bad this pollutant is right now.
Jason Haley has doubts.
Do you worry it could be bad?
Yes, I do. You shouldn't put this right next to people's neighborhoods.
He co-founded the Safe and Sound Coalition, a group trying to stop those turbines from becoming permanent. He says people like this officer come by every few hours to take decibel readings, but that the readings don't tell the whole story.
We took a decibel reading down at the park, and it was like in the 50s, 60s, which is equivalent to the hum of a dishwasher, which might not sound like much to people.
I've heard the comparison to this isn't much louder than my dishwasher or my vacuum cleaner is louder than that. Well, you don't run that 24/7.
Right. Right. And when you have that kind of noise and you have no control, to turn it off or on or whatever, that's when it really affects people. You have control over your dishwasher, your vacuum, your leaf blower. But when you don't have control, and that's what you're listening to for a long period of time, it does a number. It causes so much stress. These things should not be anywhere near, residential areas, but they are. And yeah, there has been a takeover, corporate America. All right, so I have said forever, I don't believe any of these, software programs or gadgets that you can get that will, make sure that all of your data on the internet is private. I said nothing's private. Nothing. Not even VPNs, which people have been using, claiming that this is the only, the only way that you can protect your information. And it's not. Okay. So senators ask Tulsi Gabbard to tell Americans that VPN use might subject them to domestic surveillance. Might? Okay. Might? All right. So because VPNs obscure a user's true location, and because intelligence agencies presume that communications of unknown origin are foreign, Americans may be inadvertently waiving the privacy protections they're entitled to under the law. Several federal agencies, including the FBI, the National Security Agency, the Federal Trade Commission, have recommended that consumers use VPNs to protect their privacy. The FBI recommended that. The National Security Agency, the Federal Trade Commission, they recommended people use VPNs. That seems a little odd, but hey. But following that advice may inadvertently cost Americans the very protections they're seeking. So maybe if they did recommend it, they're recommending it for a nefarious reason. So that's alarming. It's also a conundrum. VPN use, often required for remote logins to corporate systems, is a great way to secure connections that are otherwise insecure, like those made originating from people's homes to log into their work stuff or utilizing public Wi-Fi. There are also more off-the-book uses, like circumventing regional content limitations and just ensuring your internet activity can't be tied to your physical location. Sorry, but the surveillance, it's complete. Americans reportedly spend billions of dollars each year on commercial VPN services. Well, man. According to the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, VPNs have the potential to be vulnerable to surveillance by foreign adversaries. It doesn't matter what you do. When governments have back doors into your computer, it doesn't matter. They know your passwords. They know what you're doing, and it's not just, the Microsoft computers, it's also Apple. Although I shouldn't say that. Well, I vaguely remember Apple too. There's no way out of being surveilled. And just going to play a few minutes. I have recommended ITM trading. When we hear, the Strait of Hormuz, okay, and it won't be open to the United States and Israel and their allies, but it is open to other countries. And we hear that it may never be open to the United States. We get things from, the Strait, not so much oil, but fertilizer, urea, certainly all of the farming stuff. And when you hear that now 30 leaders of countries are meeting to discuss how to get their boats sailing through the Strait of Hormuz, my hunch is we may be at the tail end of the petrodollar. That's not good for Americans, but it may very well be. The petro yuan, Iran already announced you can sail through. Well, not, allies who are supporting the United States and Israel with this war, but others can say, I'll pay in the yuan, and they sail right on through. We might be looking at the end.
What I'm about to show you is going to make you angry. And then it's going to change the way you think about every dollar you have saved. Foreign central banks are dumping U.S. treasuries, but here's the part they're not telling you. This isn't just about bonds. This is about whether the world still needs dollars. And if that answer is shifting to no, then your savings, your retirement, your purchasing power are all at risk. So why exactly is today's sell-off so important? What does it tell us about what's coming next? And how can you protect yourself before it's too late?
And I don't think a lot of people can protect themselves, not with what is coming. So I do hope that an awful lot of you have taken as much money as you can out of the banks, leaving enough to pay your bills and whatever. But this all 2026, man, we knew was going to be one hell of a joyride. But so they're not interested in the bonds, not interested in treasuries, dumping the dollar, the petrodollar. So It is unfortunate what is happening. And for some in the know, it's scary. It is, because it means that an awful lot of people, once the dollar really dives, what are they going to be able to purchase? Not much. And we could also be looking at hyperinflation. Wow, that affects a whole lot, like 99% of the population. President Trump, okay. I hate saying president because I usually don't. Trump. Have a hand in writing the latest White House East Wing court filing? Okay. The government, this is the part that I really want to bring attention to. And I remember seeing, I don't know, maybe a month, maybe 2 months ago, a woman who was posting a video talking about how they were building an underground bunker. And she was right. So somehow she had that information. So the government argues construction should not be stopped because an unfinished East Wing leaves the president and White House staff potentially vulnerable to grave national security harms. If it were the case that staff and the president was vulnerable to grave national security harms, they wouldn't have done what they did, which is, well, let's just get rid of it, right? Because you're going to be subject to grave national security threats for quite a while. That's bullshit. So anyway, what are they building? Revealed previously unknown security features of the White House includes missile-resistant steel columns, drone-proof roofing materials. The structure will house bomb shelters, a hospital, medical area, protective partitioning, top secret military installation. Wow. Almost sounds like they know what is coming. Yeah. So the ballroom would act as a shed for an underground military bunker. Oh, wow. Okay. Colorado forces lawyers to swear they won't help the feds nab illegals. All right. I see a Colorado attorney challenging this latest and greatest law starting March 30, which, well, 5 days later, here we are. But every private attorney logging into Colorado's official court's e-filing system must certify under penalty of perjury that they will never use or share non-public personal information from court records to assist federal immigration authorities. Refuse, you're shut out of the system entirely. No filing lawsuits, no checking case files, no representing clients in state court. Yeah, the certification reads, I certify under penalty of perjury that I will not use personal identifying information obtained from the database. Every attorney, and it doesn't matter, it's not just immigration attorneys, divorce attorneys, it doesn't matter. This sounds a little not right. The legislation seeks to prevent the use of state resources for federal civil immigration enforcement. They even acknowledge the backlash, saying, we recognize that some people may be frustrated by the requirements of this new legislation. However, the judiciary is required to comply with the laws as enacted by the legislature. This sounds a little extreme, but Colorado is protecting their sanctuary status, which, wow, is in violation of immigration law. And I've never known how it is that all of these cities and states can just say, okay, we're sanctuaries. It's in violation of immigration law. So, hey, no problem. Our country is so gone. Now, James Fishback, who is running to be the governor of Florida, apparently, now this guy bugs the shit out of me because he's constantly in people's faces and yelling, and it's very hard because, well, I think you'll see. But really, this guy, Fishback, I think he's done. He told this guy that he should be lynched. What's happening here? Has Trump really opened the door to people saying whatever the hell they want to say? Well, we need consequences big time. But I'm going to turn this down a little because there was a lot of yelling.
So, Mr. Fishback, what's with you smashing a 16 or 17-year-old? Can you answer about what's going on with that?
What are you talking about?
All right, so there's like a girl named Kenya Ford.
Have you spoken to her?
Apparently, I have not talked to her.
Where'd you go talk to her?
I haven't talked to a single Epstein victim either. I've never talked to Kanye West, but I know he's a real person too. Never talked to Trump, I know he's a real person.
Sure.
So tell me about Kenya Ford, bro. Why is she saying that you guys slept together when she was 17 and you were 27?
When did she say that?
She said it in court, apparently.
In court?
In court, yeah.
I'm glad it was
before
in court.
you ran for office.
I'm glad it was in court. What happened? What did the judge say at the end of that court? He dismissed that. It was 7 hours of testimony. You should know that when
it was
something
about
goes
cyber
to court,
stalking, not about smashing when she was a minor. Hey, bro.
Do you want to listen?
Hey,
bro.
Why is he not answering the question, bro?
I'm happy to answer the question, dude.
Did you smash? Was it missionary back shots? What was it?
Listen, I don't want you ever speaking about women in our state like that ever again.
I mean, I don't want you ever smashing girls, teenage girls, in our state ever again. So promise me, never smash a minor again.
Why haven't I been arrested?
I don't know.
Why haven't I been arrested?
I don't know.
You should
Why
be
hasn't
lynched.
Trump been?
You should be lynched.
I should be lynched.
Okay. Now he needs to write a book, the fast and easy steps to dismantle your campaign. It started attacking her. What? Okay. Again, I'm going to say, I don't know how much you look at what's going on in the world, our country. Dogs attacking people, attacking other dogs and pets. Now a fox bites a Massachusetts woman.
A fox attack caught on camera in Worcester. Take a look here as this animal goes after the woman multiple times. We highlighted the video to make it easier for you to see. Fortunately, that woman is okay. Boston.
Okay, fox, they're not predatory. I don't. What's going on? If you want to watch the end of this, okay. But no cause is given, and it's not rabies. So maybe the four-legged they've had enough of the two-legged. And this is really very, very sad. Horrific attack. Horrific attack hits a veterinary clinic in Ukraine. Oh, I can't. I'm just going to post the link. Many animals are dead. War, right? You would want to think that 2026, that the human race could have done a little bit better. And did you see this? Michigan Humane rescued a puppy, the fire department as well, a puppy from a chimney of an abandoned home.
He's like sitting in the chimney.
How did he get there? How did he get there? Oh. Ah.
Awesome.
Hi, little guy. A lot smaller than what we thought he would be. Good. You got him. Come on.
Oh.
Hi.
Oh, look how precious.
Yeah. Good boy.
Oh my
Welcome
God.
to Mission Humane. Hope you stay here. It's more than accommodating.
Better than the chimney.
Yeah, better than the chimney. You look pretty good.
Not too shabby.
A little thin, but that's
How? I'm sure that puppy didn't crawl up the fireplace. Okay, I don't know. And in Tehran, a woman feeds stray cats daily during the war. Yeah.
تنها کسی که تو این روزه جنگی اومد به تمام این گربه‌ها غذا داد. همش کرد. هیچ کس تو تهران نبود ولی این خانوم بود.
Good souls.
حلالش بشه. تمام گربه‌های منطقه غذایی بود. خسته نباشی.
Good souls. I like it. Now, I'm going to play perhaps the whole 10 minutes. Tim Truth. I have recommended Tim Truth's channel multiple times. I still do. And this is very interesting. It's very interesting. See this right here? You know, Pete Hegseth with, you know, what is like a, I don't know, what do you call these things that people, men put in their pocket on their jackets? I can't think anymore. But these two don't look happy. They don't look happy. But I've mentioned the vertical stripes before. Well, take a listen. Man, oh man, oh man.
I wanted to put out a short standalone video showing recent White House communications and comparing it to two fictional scenarios, possibly predictive programming. One was a television show called Jericho, and one was a Telegraph article called Operation Blackjack, which depicted a so-called fictional scenario. Both of these involved widespread nuclear attacks on the United States, self-inflicted by the totalitarian American government that would take over in the aftermath. So false flags used to take over control of the United States. And interestingly, in both scenarios, they flew a very similar flag, like this mutant version of the American flag with the red and the white stripes vertical instead of horizontal. We're seeing Pete Hegseth wear this flag as a pocket square in his suits time and time and time again, including this morning. And there was also this really conspicuous White House video that they tweeted out that invoked this idea of a broken American flag, chaos, emergency broadcast signals, very similar symbols and motifs to these other two fictional scenarios from 20 years ago.
I had the opportunity to visit our troops
fighting in Operation Epic Fury. We were on the ground, in CENTCOM on Saturday.
In the ground. So Freudian slip there. Is he going to put all the soldiers in the ground? I don't know. So I'm fascinated by this symbol that we keep seeing of the American flag with vertical stripes instead of horizontal stripes. And I wanted to make a little video connecting some of the dots that I found. I'm sure there's more. I put out a video yesterday talking about Operation Blackjack, a topic I find very concerning. This strange fictional scenario that the Telegraph published back in 2009, talking about the United States government going rogue, or at least rogue forces within the United States government, taking over through false flag nuclear bombings. And this tyrannical government took over. And this is the flag of the tyrannical government. Clearly, it's like this mutant form of the United States flag, with 5 white stars in the middle with a blue background, and then the white and red stripes, instead of being horizontal, are vertical. And when I saw this, I immediately thought back to this weird White House video that they published on March 25th. Let me just play this in its entirety. So they took this actual stock video of this American flag. They took a single frame of this, where it looks like the stripes are vertical. And up at the top, they've added this new glitch effect, which gives a similar effect to this totalitarian Union of North American flag. And I'm wondering if this is intentional. So a lot of people were saying in the comments, why are they showing a desecrated American flag? Why are the stripes going up and down instead of left and right? And that was my first question too. And I looked at this, and it really looks like this is what's attached over to the right side of the pole, this solid red border here. But then I found the original video. Here's the original video. Somewhat normal American flag flapping in the wind. It still wouldn't be my first choice if I was putting out a video from the White House's press account. But like, why didn't they take this frame? Why did they take a frame where it looks like the right edge of the American flag is up against the pole? And then why'd they create this distortion effect up here so that we only see like a few of the stars underneath that divide? Why'd they break up the American flag with the distortion effect? Also, the video creates this idea of like an emergency broadcast signal. So you hear this like message notification going off. Now, pretty much at the same time, they published this other video of a woman standing in the White House, presumably, saying, oh, it's launching soon?
It's launching soon, right?
It's launching soon, right? Yes, he says. And then also, if you don't believe that the White House is putting cryptic messages and symbolism into their videos and into their posts, they literally put this out in very close proximity the next day. And in the video, they have audio played in reverse. And so people reversed it. Exciting announcement tomorrow. So this is their propaganda spying White House app that they want everybody to download that sends your location to some remote server every 4.5 minutes. But what's interesting about this launch video, where they say it's launching soon, right? Yes. A lot of people were jumping straight to, are they talking about nuclear bombs? Now, where else do we see the American flag with vertical stripes pertaining to nuclear bombs? The television show Jericho had the Allied States of America flag. After the nuclear bombs went off, vertical striped American flag. And then I saw Pete Hegseth today, and I saw this in his pocket, which, first of all, is a clear violation of the flag code. You're not supposed to turn American flags into clothing, especially not broken, incorrect American flags. And this is not the first time he's worn this. Here's a better shot of it. And here's a picture of it further out of his pocket, showing clearly this is not a real American flag. These are vertical red and white stripes. So are we witnessing some sort of comms here? Are they trying to speak over our heads here? Why is he wearing the same symbol that we see in Jericho? Why is he wearing the same symbol that we see in Blackjack, where you have a tyrannical government that takes over after nuclear attacks? Why are they posting these strange videos to the White House Twitter account that many people speculate the stripes are going the wrong way? Here's an article that says the red and white stripes appear to run vertically instead of horizontally. Now, we do have the source video, and it's a normal flag, but why would you pick this video? Why would you take just a single frame of it and splice it into such a strange, distorted mess with like a emergency broadcast signal notification going off? What the hell is going on here? There are enough dots here that we can draw a line. So I find it strange we keep getting hit with the same symbol, the vertical striped American flag. Hegseth is frequently making appearances with the pocket squares. The White House is tweeting out videos where everyone is asking, why are the stripes vertical? And then we have two fictional scenarios. One is Operation Blackjack, published in the Telegraph, and the other is the television show Jericho, where after a nuclear attack, tyrannical government takes control under this flag. In this show, Jericho, the Allied States of America were also a tyrannical group tied to the conspiracy behind the attacks. They used martial law and military rule, and they disarmed the populace. So this is the Allied States of America flag from the TV show Jericho. So in this TV show Jericho, it's revealed that the nuclear blasts, which plunged America into chaos, was actually orchestrated by this group, the Allied States of America, pretty much with the flag that we see in Hegseth's pocket. Very similar to the flag that we see in this White House release, at least implied. I find this very telling and something that I want to make sure that people are well aware of as we approach false flag season. So in the show Jericho, the United States is hit by a series of nuclear attacks. Iran and North Korea are blamed, but in reality, it was people at the highest levels of the former United States government. And that's what led to this new totalitarian government, the Allied States of America. In Blackjack, there was a series of nuclear blasts, 5 in the United States, also in Europe, where they blamed Iran, Syria, and China and used it to imprison all the political dissidents, ban free journalism, ban free speech, protest, etc., force everybody to get chipped, etc. Also, I should point out, and this is what really led me to looking at the predictive programming from the past, that nuclear bombs would play straight into this narrative. In fact, it seems like they've orchestrated this entire narrative, designed this entire playbook, working backwards for some sort of dirty bomb or nuclear bomb going off as pretense for invoking NATO's Article 5 and building a world coalition led by the United States to rush into Iran, causing tons and tons of casualties with the stated objective of seizing their enriched uranium. That's what all of the propaganda seems to be pointing at. Listen to this Fox News hypnotist, Levin.
Now, there's been some discussion, I hear, about whether or not the threat from Iran is imminent. I don't quite understand this. And the people who say that don't really tell us what they mean by that. What do you have to wait for exactly? 47 years of a record of killing Americans, or enriched uranium at 60% and then at 90%? What exactly do we have to wait for? They could still use a dirty bomb, even if they don't have actual ICBMs that can reach us, but they do have now ICBMs that can reach Europe and our military bases, and soon enough, the United States. So what do we wait for?
Jericho came out in 2006, Operation Blackjack, early 2009. The 13th episode of Jericho was called Blackjack, and the two show very similar themes. So were they commissioned by the same forces? Was the Telegraph piece simply inspired by Jericho? I mean, it seems almost like blatant plagiarism. If so, given the flags. I mean, the flags are so similar. So I just want to put the facts out there so we have something ahead of time in case they do try to pull something like this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I find this very strange. There are too many dots that are lining up here for it to be a coincidence. Now, is it just to scare people about nukes? We know that the government likes to use nukes as this doomsday, fear-inducing technique for control, a mechanism to control people and make people feel powerless and vulnerable and needing the government to fight on our behalf. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that the fears won't actually be exploited. I would actually argue to the contrary. So a lot of people say that nuclear bombs are fake. And while that may be true, I can't take it that far because I don't know them to be fake conclusively. I know that big bombs exist and that they could mix in radioactive material such that Geiger counters would go off and people would say a nuclear bomb was detonated here. But that doesn't mean that it's splitting an atom as the mechanism of explosion. So while I find the topic very interesting, it doesn't stop my analysis on predictive programming and steps that the government might do to seize control. And in that vein, there are two major things that keep coming up as far as predictive programming for nukes. The TV show Jericho and this Operation Blackjack from Telegraph. And in it, both of them have this flag that we're now seeing the Trump administration seemingly drawing reference to, if you ask me. Very, very strange.
Very good video. Okay, now, we could be looking at anything. And unfortunately, the anything, well, that comprises a tremendous amount of really bad happenings, because we're not going to get really good happenings. We know that. But, and we sure do know that, especially with this administration, they love to put out stuff to either piss Americans off, confuse Americans, their predictive programming. Yeah. And this, where's the Jonas, I think it's right to call Levin a hypnotist. He's got a lot of boomers under his spell. My aunt, who understood that our government was bad in 2021, now worships Trump. Okay. Well, Mark Levin, he just makes me sick. So I can't imagine that people are under his spell. But I guess they are. So many are still stuck in the matrix. And don't they have to get out of it? Oh boy. Really? So let's go through this. Man. Okay. So Trump, all right, why aren't people kind of like, I don't know, talking about this guy is so phenomenally sick and he's just saying whatever the hell he wants to say. You know, we won the war. The military in Iran has been decimated. Last night, I saw this video, and Trump is saying that, well, Iran is has a very, very strong military, and something like it's a challenge. I thought you decimated that military. Okay, so here, regime change was not our goal. We don't want that. Oh, that's at 9 o'clock. 9:07. Regime change is what we want. It is needed.
Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred.
But we also won regime change. We have a regime change like nobody thought was possible.
Regime change was not our goal.
Okay, how are people like, what's going on? How are people dealing with what they're hearing from that guy? It's frightening, actually, that we could have a president like this guy, like Biden, and we still just go along like life is, I don't know, quote unquote normal here. It is so not. It is so off the charts abnormal that, yeah, I do have to wonder, why aren't we hearing a lot of screaming? So Israeli launches overnight strikes targeting Hezbollah sites in Beirut. All right, I'm going to be just posting on what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Syria and Gaza, because so much is happening there as well. And I have to tell you, of course, it's the New York Post that's going to be posting, on all of the Israeli bombing of Hezbollah. But I don't think you're going to see very much about Hezbollah bombing Israel. And they are. So, yeah, New York Post. All for Trump. Relatives of Soleimani arrested in the United States. Now, Trump assassinated Soleimani first term. And it was like, you want to talk violation of international law? And Trump was like, I'm great. I killed a general who was like the top general of the Iranian Republic National Guard. Just out of the blue, assassinates him. So U.S. federal agents have arrested and revoked the lawful permanent resident status of Iranian military commander Soleimani's niece and grandniece. Rubio revoked their green cards as if they were a threat. This is This is very upsetting. Okay, so are they going to go after Iranian Americans who are lawfully here? That's what I'm scared of. Iranian president condemns assassination during outreach to the American people. Okay. It was attempted, but they didn't get to kill the head of the country's Strategic Council on Foreign Policy, targeted in an assassination attempt resulting in the unjust martyrdom of his spouse. Let international public opinion judge which side seeks dialogue and negotiation and which side is the terrorist. I would think that most of you know that the United States, we are the terrorists. And I really hate it. Well, first time ever, Army Chief of Chaplains fired. So you know that a whole lot have been fired from the Pentagon, and I believe that they were fired because they're not loyal to Trump and Hegseth and might have voiced some opposition to this war. But this guy, well, first it was the firing of General Randy George, the Army's Chief of Staff, but the same day, Hegseth removes Army Major General William Green, who had served in that as a chaplain since 2023. A person serves as Army Chief for 4 years, chaplain for 4 years. No reason was given for his dismissal. You know, and within his 1-year tenure, Hegseth has fired or sidelined more than 24 senior military leaders, heavily targeting Black and female officers and elevating white men to leadership roles in their place. Green is a native of Savannah, Georgia, grew up on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. I mean, this guy is highly credentialed, and these really profoundly disturbed men, Hegseth being one of them, just letting people go. All right. Yeah. He became an Army chaplain in 1994 with endorsement from the National Baptist Convention, USA, Inc. He has held chaplaincy leadership positions in the Pentagon multiple times and also has been posted to a whole lot of bases. Okay, his awards and decorations include a whole lot. No reason given. I'm sure it's because they voice some opposition to what Hegseth is doing. And this guy, Hegseth bows down to, oh God, what's his name? I really should know his name. I'm sure somebody's going to know his name. This is Christian nationalist. He's got a Christian nationalist town in Idaho. He's now in Washington, D.C. He shows up at the prayer services in the Pentagon. He's way out there as a Christian nationalist. And so, all right, let's listen.
Let me give you a couple of very practical examples. Okay. Could Muslims be here? Live? Yes, they could be. Could they hold political office? No. Could Muslims gather together with their Muslim family and friends to pray to Allah? Yes. Right? Could you have a mosque? Yes. Could they have a minaret, a prayer tower that issues a public call to prayer? No. because the public spaces belong to Christ.
Whoa.
Right? We're a Christian nation. So church bells are
Okay, we're not a Christian nation, and public spaces do not belong to Christ. I agree with the call to prayer that goes on, I think, 5 times a day, and are quite loud, and well, it disturbs the peace and quiet of people's. Yeah, I agree with that, but you have a Muslim American and they can't run for office. Not in this guy's. Nobody's putting down his name. Can't believe I can't remember his name. That's not good, but sorry, public spaces are not Christ's. This is so infuriating. It is so unbelievably infuriating. And I don't think that's the point. They really believe this, and they want to reshape the US of A how they want the US of A to be. Get rid of the Constitution. It's a Christian nation, and a whole lot of changes. Get rid of the 19th Amendment. Women can't vote. Oh,
okay. Church bells are okay, but a Muslim call to prayer in the public space would not be okay. Catholic church bells would be okay, right? Catholic church bells would be okay, but a parade in honor of the Virgin Mary, carrying an image of the Virgin Mary down Main Street, no, right? So
what about the
basically
Eucharist?
I'm sorry, but there's a lot of Hispanics who, the Virgin Mary is very, very important to them. Sorry, they can't? Oh, really? Because it would be too offensive?
What about the Eucharist? What about a Eucharistic procession?
That's a new one. I would say probably not. It would depend on what was being done around it, how it was being conducted. But basically, public displays of idolatry, what the Protestant foundation of the law would consider to be idolatry, would not be allowed. So you wouldn't have a Hindu procession with a Hindu god. You wouldn't have a procession of the Virgin Mary.
But Islam is a monumental burden upon the greater good? Oh, okay. Woof. A whole lot of Christianity has been a burden upon the greater good here in our country. Absolute bombshell. Fox News. Expert national security analyst confirms the Trump administration is completely purging the Pentagon. A dozen top generals in the middle of a war. An excursion. Sorry.
And we're back. So we have 2 ousters today, this time from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He has asked Army Chief of Staff General Randy George to leave his post. George is the Army's most senior general. A defense official says Hegseth asked General George to retire immediately. Now, the ouster comes as the U.S., of course, is battling Iran. Joining me now is Hal Kempfert, a familiar face around here, and on Live Now, a national security analyst, also a retired U.S. Marine. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Let's just get your reaction to this. Is this really a big deal?
Well, Marla, it's a deal. I mean, normally when you become a service chief or chairman of the Joint Chiefs or the vice chair, normally those are 4-year terms. That is not set in stone. That can change, and certainly we've seen a lot of changes. With Pete Hegseth as Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense, he's removed about a dozen flag and general officers. Of course, you may recall he removed C.Q. Brown, Air Force General, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs when he came in. He also, Lisa Franchetti, who was the CNO, Admiral, head of the Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. And then, of course, General Cruz, Lieutenant General Cruz, head of DIA, and others have been removed as well. So they're not afraid of removing flag and general officers, but this is still a big deal.
It's amazing that, first of all, it's got to be loyal They have to be loyal to Trump. They won't listen to any opposition on any issue, any agenda. Evacuation of U.S. troops from Mideast base sends community groups scrambling to help. What? Oh, yeah. Because, well, we won and we decimated their military. They have no more missiles. Yeah. But for some reason, hundreds of sailors were evacuated back to the United States from their base in Bahrain after the base was attacked by Iranian missiles and drones. There have been evacuations at other U.S. military bases in the region, though the exact details are unknown at this point. Wow. They can do that with a decimated military. I see why they're a challenge. Man. Also understand what's happening in the UK with, all of the Islam, the Muslims and everything. That's all purposeful. It's deliberate, and to get a whole lot of people very riotous, very angry. But you shouldn't like every Muslim to what's happening on the streets in the UK. I know you have a huge problem. But look at your government. Why are they doing everything that they're doing? Because there's a whole takeover of the world. So Iran, just a reminder, during the negotiations, Iran did agree to give up all of their uranium, all of it. And what happened? Okay. We decided to bomb in the middle of the negotiations. And now we're talking about we've got to get that uranium out of Iran. Really? Well, Iran did say we will give it all up. And now they're using that. Oh, it is so mind-boggling that this could actually continue just on and on and on every single day.
Iran offered to give away all of its enriched uranium during the peace talks. And hours later, the U.S. started dropping bombs. And The Guardian broke yesterday that there were British officials, the British National Security Advisor was present in Geneva during that last round of talks. The British were surprised by the Iranian offer. They thought it was credible. They thought the talks should continue. And the British were shocked when the Trump administration started bombing Iran hours later. Iran offered to give away all.
So really, who's at fault here? Is it Iran or is it the U.S.? And once again, Trump is coming out saying you have 48 hours. You've got 48 hours. You better agree to a deal or all hell will break loose. Iran has already said, we're not dealing with Americans. That's it. It's gone. Why should they? Twice during negotiations, we bombed them. Why should they negotiate again with Americans? Negotiations with the Americans are over forever. Oh, wow. Let's just listen to the foreign minister. Yeah.
The question of talking with Americans or negotiation with Americans once again would be on the table because, we have a very, bitter experience of talking with Americans. We negotiated with them last year, in last June, and they attacked us in the middle of negotiations. And again this year, they tried to convince us that this time is different. They promised us that they don't have any intention to attack us. And they wanted to resolve the Iran's nuclear question peacefully. and to find a negotiated solution, and we finally accepted. But again, after 3 rounds of negotiation, and after the American team in the negotiation, said itself that we made a big progress, still they decided to attack us. So I don't think, talking with Americans anymore would be, on our agenda anymore.
I wish that Americans were like Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran. Yeah, you get burned and then burned again. Well, you walk away. That's it. Done. You're not going to step closer to get burned 3 times. Why would you? And we get burned and burned and burned and burned and burned. Iran slams Western double standards. Yeah, why is it so hard for these Western leaders to admit that maybe the United States is at fault? Why is it so hard? Well, apparently it is. Here, in Iran sharply criticized recent statements by European officials regarding the Strait of Hormuz, denouncing the selective application of international law by Western powers. That's what has been going on with Israel, right? No, we're not going to denounce. But I mean, you try to argue against what Israel is doing, and then you're interrupted. And what do they ask? Well, do you denounce Hamas? Do you denounce what happened on October 7th? Over and over and over and over. The same thing with the United States. We'll get nowhere good. Nowhere good when we show no integrity, no moral, code, core, international law is what the Iranian official said. International law, that's rich. What does it say about United States and Israeli regimes' military aggression against sovereign states and assassinating their leaders? So all of the European leaders are saying, not all of them, but a whole lot, are saying that open the Strait of Hormuz because it's in violation of international law. Yeah, that's rich. None of them have mentioned anything about the vicious aggression of the United States and Israel. So the military aggression against sovereign states and assassinating their leaders, about the Ninab school attack that killed 170 students. The embassy said in response to recent remarks by the European foreign policy chief, Callas. How about the attacks on civilian infrastructure, pharmaceutical factories, desalination plants? Why is it so hard? You never hold aggressors accountable, only the victims. This has been going on forever. How do we change this? So this was in reaction to Callas's, who recently praised British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper for organizing an international discussion involving more than 40 countries on the security of the Strait of Hormuz. All you have to do is pay in yuan and denounce the United States and Israel. France, they get to go through. Spain, they get to go through. Why? Because they're stating what happened correctly. It's not hard. French, Japanese vessels make Hormuz crossing Macron has called for a diplomatic approach to the Straits' de facto closure, saying the situation will not be resolved by bombing or military operations, and no, it won't. So French, Japanese, and Oman-linked vessels have been able to cross the strait. And Macron urges nations to avoid becoming a vassal of the United States or China. Oh boy, wouldn't that be wonderful for people to just walk away, certainly from the United States. Macron urged countries worldwide not to become vassals of either the United States or China, following his public dispute with Trump over Iran and NATO. And I heard that Trump made these very immature, jabs at Macron, and it's just so disgusting. Our objective is not to be vassals of two hegemonic powers. We don't want to depend on the dominance of, let's say, China. We don't want to be too exposed to the unpredictability of the United States. Trump reminds Iran 48 hours before all hell will rain down, as the search for missing U.S. pilot continues. Now, I thought Iran had captured one. Pilot. Hence the reason Trump has come out and said, if you do anything, to that pilot, then I guess all hell will rain down. So I guess they're still searching for some pilots. But, he gives these ultimatums. Iran has come out and said, that's not negotiation. We don't do ultimatums. President Trump says he's not going to reveal what Iran is in for if they harm our missing pilot.
Most recently, the latest thing we have is that President Trump just said he's not ready to announce what the United States is going to do if it turns out that Iran harms this missing U.S. crew member. That is according to an interview he just gave with The Independent.
A U.S. Marine posted outside the West Wing for most of the day Friday, because inside, the president's national security team has been regularly briefing him about the F-15E crew rescue mission. After the F-15E shoot-down became public, the president's first comment on Truth Social was, keep the oil, anyone?
Most recently,
keep the oil? A second U.S. Black Hawk helicopter has been attacked by Iran. I don't know if that was the pilot ejecting, but yeah, well, it doesn't seem the military is gone, disseminated. It's decimated. 2 U.S. choppers struck by Iranian fire during the search for downed F-15 pilots. 2 downed U.S. drone appears on TikTok live as Iraqi children try to sell it. What? Yeah. It's, look at this.
عشاء الحشد كله موجود هنا، حشد الشعبي كله موجود هنا بالبث مالته. عود يريدون طيارة، تعالوا خذوها عم بتاع الحشد على راس الدم. طيارة على إيران، فين تحت الماء؟ هاي مسيرة جت يطير شو ما تطير، عشان أطير طيارة عليه من على بالي، ناكل هواها.
All right. Seems things are going really well for those Americans. And here, this was Iranian forces seize a largely intact U.S.-made Lucas drone. So those are bombs. They're drones, but they're bombs. And fishing vessel is on fire in the Persian Gulf, right off the Strait of Hormuz. Well, boy, they put out a lot of smoke. That's for sure. Can't stand this world. It's really so. U.S. admits Rubio lied, and Riyadh embassy wrecked. That it's not going to be repaired. Iranian strikes. Literally everything that we're hearing from our government is just an abject lie. Everything. And I think it was yesterday in the live, I included, 80 think tanks have come out with their assessments about this war. And I've said, US and Israel are losing. And then 10, what was the other one? I can't remember. But drone strike on U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia was Israeli false flag. They've also come out and said that Iran, it was a false flag of the Israelis bombing the desalination plant in Kuwait. So I'm sure, that they're bombing places and just blaming Iran for it. Iran has denied several attacks on its neighbors, including the desalination plant in Kuwait and a major oil refinery in Saudi Arabia. So, Iraqi armed forces officially declare they will militarily confront and respond to unjustified attacks by Washington and Tel Aviv. So this isn't just the resistance in Iraqi, but Iraqi armed forces. I think we're cornered. So, and again, I'm going to post the link to this. This is a good update on what is taking place in the Middle East. Live. Iran announces new air defense system used to target U.S. fighter jets on Friday. U.S.-Israeli strike near Iran's Bushehr nuclear plant killed one, and Russia has evacuated their employees at this nuclear plant. So let's just see. Yeah, Tehran accuses IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, head of inaction after nuclear site attacks. Yeah. Well, they also divulged information which, forget about not professional, but it goes against, the policy of the International Atomic Energy Agency. When they come into countries and they're doing inspections, they don't go around, offering the information about that country to other countries. Well, they did in this case with Iran. So Pope Leo urges world not to become desensitized to global conflicts. It's hard. It's very hard. Iran says 30 universities hit. 30 universities hit. Israel claims over 200 strikes on Iran. and Hezbollah targets. Israeli soldier killed in South Lebanon. UAE condemns pro-Palestine protests targeting its embassy in Syria. Ay, 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 man. Iran rejects Trump's helpless, nervous, unbalanced threats. Houthis claim joint operation with Iran, targeting Israeli sites. U.S. takes the relatives of Soleimani. Gaza genocide death toll. It's much higher than 72,000. Some are putting it in the hundreds of thousands. When you look at Gaza, what they've done to Gaza, that's, 72. That's the official number. Israeli strike kills 1 in central Gaza. They're still striking Gaza and Lebanon. Israeli forces destroy United Nations peacekeeper cameras. All right. If you want to know updates on this war, I would bookmark this site. The link is in the chat. And what is this? Oh, there's a lot of protests going on in police state Israel. It's a police state. It's been a police state for a long time. How are people still referring to Israel as, this remarkable democracy in the middle of all of these Middle Eastern countries? I would say that probably Iranians have more freedom than Israelis. Ben-Gvir's police violently broke up an anti-war demonstration. And apparently these demonstrations, first it was, they limited the gatherings, that's what they call them, not protests, to like 50 people or something. And then it was increased to like 600, and the police are claiming that they went over the limit, so they're just picking people up violently. Really? That's what you do? I don't know. It sounds a little, I don't know, tyrannical. I don't know how loud this is going to be. So clearly, they're not protecting Israelis. Israel is protecting, their narrative and their agenda. And if Israelis go against that, well, that's it. They get picked up. So, this thing, God, I will say, I'm just sick of religion. I'm sick of any talk about it. It's caused so much harm. But here's another one. Professor of Christian sexual ethics at a Midwest university. This is in Greene County, Ohio. John Kent Tarwater, 55 years old, indicted last Friday. 2 counts of rape, 3 counts of sexual battery, and 3 counts of gross sexual imposition. He's a father of 10. Worked at Cedarville University, a Baptist school with roughly 6,400 students, as a business administration faculty member and associate finance professor since 2017. December 22nd, he penned an article titled, Does sexual self-gratification glorify God? Well, I guess you think it does, John. I think you think it does. Wrote a novel in 2005, Marriage as Covenant, considering God's design at creation and the contemporary moral consequences. So many. They use religion as like a buffer zone. Oh, I'm just so pious, I would never ever, so righteous, I would never ever. But they do. Truth Social, man. This guy is a trip. Trump, remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God. Ah, glory be to God. Coming out of Trump? Whoa. Okay. Glory be to God. Yeah. Because all of this is just, God is fine with all of this going on. Oh yeah. Just absolutely fine with what Trump and, well, the United States and Israel are doing to Iran. Dropping bombs on the most populated city in Iran. And yes, I will say, if anybody says, well, Iran is also dropping bombs in Tel Aviv and other, well, guess what? You shouldn't have started the dropping of the bombs. Franklin Graham. Whoa. Okay. See, what I don't understand is how it is that these people continue to be on the main stage when we have so many Christians in our country that they haven't screamed him off is really remarkable. So, well, Franklin Graham cites King David in response to what the Pope said. God does take sides. Oh, really? Well, thinking about that Christian God, well, you would think that I don't personify gods, but of course, righteousness. But we're the antithesis of that. Evangelist, Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham, CEO, cited the Old Testament example of King David earlier this week to push back against what Pope Leo said, that God rejects the prayers of those who wage war. Speaking at a Piers Morgan Uncensored episode, Morgan asked Graham to respond to the Pope, who devoted his Palm Sunday homily to rebuking those who would justify war in the name of Jesus Christ. He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, the Pope said. Even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. Isaiah 1:15. Graham said, oh, I don't know. David, King David, he prayed that God would train his hands how to fight his enemies. We know that God does take sides in history. Certainly as it relates to biblical history, God gave great favor to David, great wisdom to David every time he went into battle. Okay. Graham explained there are just wars. Well, this isn't it. singling out World War II as an example, and went on to claim that the Iranian regime has become, quote, a danger to the whole world. How? 47 years of killing Americans. I didn't hear much about that. Any of you? Have you heard anything about Iran for 47 years killing Americans? I haven't, but yeah, just wars. Well, this isn't it. He ultimately blamed Iran for the approximately 70,000 Palestinian deaths in Gaza since October 2023, as well as the thousands of deaths in Lebanon and Yemen. I guess Iran has been very powerful. Whew. I want peace. I don't want war. Graham, you're a violent psychopath. Of course you do. Oh, I don't support war? Of course you do. But I do believe at times there is justification when you're fighting evil. Ah, well, guess what? The evil is you. The evil is the United States. Obvious, but I ain't gonna look that way. And the Islamic Republic of Iran, I believe, is an evil government. And so I hope there is a regime change. I really do. Do you see how sick this is? Morgan pressed Graham again to respond to the Pope. Graham noted he's not Roman Catholic and that he comes from a different perspective, though he implied he disagrees with the papal assertion that God rejects the prayers of those who wage war. Well, he didn't reject David's prayers, that's for sure. I think that Pope Leo, maybe he's putting that in a modern context. But if you take it from a biblical context, no question God heard the prayers of King David as he went against his enemies. And God gave him wisdom and guided him and directed him in his hands of war. What the hell would people do if they didn't have these great books? What would they do? When Morgan later asked him to comment on the Christian Zionism debate, Graham said, the idea that Jesus Christ cannot return until Jews regather in their ancestral homeland is not in the Bible. Though he believes the land promises to Abraham in Genesis remain in effect, and that the 1948 establishment of Israel was a fulfillment of prophecy. Well, you know, it goes completely against the Torah. The Jews who actually, adhere to the Torah, they have no land. They're very against the land of Israel as a Jewish state. But yeah, so since the establishment of Israel, who did that? Man. A lot of evil men. But it's fulfillment of prophecy. How does that work? Oh, God is controlling all the men to bring that about. That's what I've heard. That does not mean that the government of Israel is doing the work of God or anything like that. I don't believe that. It's a secular government. Most of them in government don't believe in God. So it's a secular country, but it's still a fulfillment of prophecy. Adding that he believes many in Israel will someday accept Christ. Oh, whoa. I don't know. Kind of think not. But on the same program with with Piers Morgan. Whew. Abraham Berg, a native Israeli who briefly served as interim president of Israel in 2000 in his capacity as Speaker of the Knesset, was another guest on Morgan Show and suggested Graham was misapplying the story of King David. But hey, you can have an awful lot of people who just, in my mind, I've interpreted it for my benefit, and that's the way it goes. I don't think that's very godly. But so, suggested Graham was misapplying the story of King David. I cannot tolerate shallowness. And boy, whew, we are dying of the shallowness here in our country. Berg told Morgan immediately after Graham's remarks, he spoke about King David. King David, yes, was a warrior, but he explicitly in the Bible was not granted to build the temple for the good Lord because, as the prophet Nathan said, your hands are full of blood. Bloody warriors are not entitled to build the house of God, the house of peace. In an apparent reference to 1 Chronicles 22:8. This is the real King David, not all of these Disneyland images of him. Who asked you to sacrifice me? I don't want this alliance with you, former Israeli interim president. Berg responds passionately to Christian Zionism. Do not interfere with Jewish faith. Oh. And, okay, CPAC may be dying. Turning Point, come on stage.
Some of the people that were there who were younger, in their 20s, they said they came to kind of see the funeral of CPAC and just confirm that it really was over.
Well, what do they think is coming next? It dies, and what takes its place?
Well, I think it's Turning Point. I think it's Turning Point, and I have to say, I think some of the things that some of the younger people that I talked to were a little bit scary because they were saying things that sounded a lot like white nationalism. It sounded racist, to be honest.
What did they say?
Well, they were saying basically that the United States was founded by Europeans, and that is the identity of the United States. And it was a mission from God to conquer a land, and the United States was conquered by Europeans. And now that they're blessed, the United States is blessed by God because of conquering the people that lived here before. And it was more about religion and more about Christianity and that identity. And that included things like teaching the Bible in school and teaching it literally, like Noah's flood actually happened. All these things actually happened. So it was very different from the people we talked to before who were like, Trump is number one. This was it seems like it's moving in a different direction that is not Trump. And to me, I find that worrying. When I've heard this from people, from talking to,
there's a lot of these people talking about how, God gave us, really, God gave us this country. And the founders were European, and they were white. And in the name of Jesus, committed genocide. In the name of Jesus, I get to get rid of all of these savages when we were the savages. And they want to bring that back. It's a whole lot of races. And they are, well, I guess, feel very entitled to share their opinion publicly. It makes me sick. But, yeah, a lot of Christian nationalists, Turning Point USA, CPAC, Republicans, breaking America's return to Jesus Christ has become so evident that even CNN, the New York Times, and the Washington Post have begun covering it. And this is not right. This is false. So why are they? Why are they? What is the point? Well, I think a lot in the Trump administration wants this narrative promoted. Maybe they will get, with the promotion of this, when people hear this, go, oh, wow, there's a great revival. Well, I better revive myself into it. And, well, okay, this is Lara Trump bragging about the civilian bridge being bombed. These people are, it's so obvious. Is it just obvious to me? Please. They're truly disturbed psychopaths. They should not be at large.
Because you want to talk about what the United States of America can do? Take a look at this video. Take a look at all the videos he's posted of the bombs dropping, of the explosions, of us targeting something the size of basically a fingernail. Our United States military. It is really impressive.
It's impressive. Look at what the U.S. military can do. Bomb a bridge. Lindsey Graham, I just had a great conversation with President. I totally support his ultimatum to the Iranian regime to open up the Strait of Hormuz and to do a peace deal. And, well, if they don't, then just bomb it into submission. This is the great Christian country. I don't know. I don't think that God is shaking his head in approval to what the United States is doing. I just have a feeling, but I could be wrong, but I do think that, the idea of a God is not some guy up there in the clouds for me, but it's goodness. And these people are really painting a picture of a very violent, sick, sadistic God.
With reaction to the president's address, Senator Lindsey Graham is with us. You said about a week ago that this is going to wrap up. You want the president to wrap up. We see the historic. We see what has happened here.
Yeah, this. I can't believe what they say.
We see the historic. We see what has happened here. There are still targets available. Sure. Do you believe this is pretty much wrapped up in 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, I do. So I like a president who has an objective, defines what the objective is, tells the military, whatever you need to accomplish the task, you have my blessing. This is how you win in 32 days. You have a commander-in-chief that will unleash the might of the American military with clear objectives. So what did we learn tonight? In 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have completed the objective of destroying their ballistic missile program, no longer be able to threat America or...
Again, I say, this guy said we won a couple of weeks ago. This guy has said over and over again, we have completely decimated their military. I guess not.
Europe, make more missiles. We've learned tonight that their nuclear ambitions to build a nuclear bomb have been completely decimated, and their ability to finance terrorism is gone. In about 2 to 3 weeks, those objectives will have been met. And how does this movie end? Here's what President Trump said tonight. If you're in Iran, you better be listening. I'm willing to do a deal to make sure you don't become the largest state sponsor of terrorism again. I'm willing to do it.
Because it was too much competition for the United States. They're not. They are not the terrorist state. We are. How is it that people can listen to this guy? How is it that Americans are remaining silent while this goes on? And he, well, listen.
A deal that will allow you to exist under certain conditions.
Oh, we're going to allow them to exist under certain conditions. Whoa, the arrogance. Oh, wow. Well, I don't know about you guys, but this is the American way. Yeah. And what do we have? We've got Andy Ogles, representative of Tennessee's 5th Congressional District. This is what he posts. wow, you're tough. You're scary, Rubio had said. They're crusaders. We must reaffirm that our nation was built on Christian principles. Well, clearly it wasn't, because it just manifested evil throughout its entire, 250 years. Just as Christians recognize, this is what this guy said, just as Christians recognize, fast and reverently participate in the life of Christ during Holy Week, America's institutions should reflect that same reverence. And this is why it is fitting to lower our flag to half-staff on Good Friday and Holy Saturday. This would serve as a solemn reminder of Christ, who was crucified for our transgressions against. You're still transgressing, okay? You're still transgressing. I don't think Christ wants to recognize anybody who transgresses. Well, that's how they live. We got crazy. We have crazy here. Homeland Security. Homeland Security, April 3rd, yesterday, posted this. On this solemn day, we reflect on the ultimate sacrifice our Savior made for all humanity. Well, they're literally just driving through the wall that separated church and state. This is part of the agenda. It's really, this should not be happening. Bring back Christianity. 97% Christian in our country up until the recent years. And it's still, Christians are the majority. So I'll bring it back. Well, how did it get lost when they were 97% of the population in this country up until recent years? Okay, what? This guy warns against using contraception. What is going on? Hours after the White House released a budget that proposed the wholesale elimination of the program, the Department of Health and Human Services quietly posted new guidance for clinics around the country that provide birth control and other sexual health services to millions of low-income people. Several changes could take effect in January 2027. Warns against contraception. I think we're heading in a direction that seems pretty obvious. This guy, all right, Florida Attorney General declares that he won't enforce state laws against public funding for churches and religious groups. You're the Attorney General. And you alone are deciding that what laws to enforce and not. It sounds a little like you have your own personal agenda, but you're supposed to be working for the people. Oh, well, give that up. You won't enforce part of the state constitution banning government funding for churches and other religious groups on the theory it violates the First Amendment. Well, how about you work to get a constitutional amendment? You don't get to decide what laws you're going to enforce. Well, I guess he does. Advocating for the state's ability to pay for religious charter schools and provide scholarships for religious universities. Wow. Okay, chutzpah. I'd say a whole lot of Americans are very entitled to do whatever the hell they please in their role as a public servant. Okay, I don't know if any of you heard about this, but FEMA chief doubles down on his claims that he was teleported to a Waffle House 50 miles away. All right. Okay. And apparently, Trump's Truth Social has been blocking his posts. I think we've got a number of really crazy people in positions that they really shouldn't be in. Made a number of bizarre statements, including claims that he had been teleported to a Waffle House 50 miles away. I don't know what to say. What do you say about this? Okay. Well, what else do we have? Well, this one, Paula White, she visited heaven and saw God's face. And then God sent her back to the White House. Whoa. All righty. You go, girl. You go.
My spirit went up, and I literally went to the throne room of God. I won't say much, but I'll say something that's important for me to teach you here today. So in that divine encounter, I don't know how long I was there. I just know that kind of power is almost impossible for a natural body to contain. And as I went to the throne room of God, first I saw there was a mist that was coming off the water, and I went to the throne of God, and I didn't see God's face clearly, but I saw the face of God. It wasn't clear, not like I could see your face clearly, but I knew it was the face of God. And as God began, he put a mantle on me, and it was a very distinct mantle. I had no idea that Apostle had prophesied. I think you said that there was a mantle that was coming upon me, that there was a new mantle coming upon me. And there was a mantle, and I saw it very distinctly. The color was like a goldish, but it was a yellowish goldish, a little bit different than your scarf, a little bit brighter than your scarf there. And then I saw the earth for a moment, and then he brought me back and he put me in certain places, one being the White House, one being certain continents. It was a mass move. I didn't come out of that really until the next morning.
I can say, what are people doing sitting there listening to her? What? Trump's spiritual advisor. Donate to me before paying your bills. The power company won't heal your cancer. If they prioritize their paychecks for more earthly needs, like keeping the lights on, they were treating the Florida Power and Light Company like God himself, instead of writing that check to the house of God as I'm instructed to. Then what I'm saying spiritually is, Florida Power and Light, I have now established a spiritual law that put you first. So Florida Power and Light, save my family. Deliver my drug addicted son. Kill this cancer that doctors say is in my body. No, before paying your bills, you write out a check to me. Yeah, the first fruits sets the pattern and establishes the destiny for what is left. Many of you need to bring a first fruit offering right now. Right now. And mostly Latino apostles and prophets from the church brought baskets to the front to collect the offerings. No one from King Jesus responded to questions from Mother Jones about where the donations went. All right. These people continue on. They just continue on. So they sure do give Christianity a really bad name. And don't you think it's Christians that need to shut these people up? They're running rampant. They're all over the place now. They're out of the closet. And that's the support from the Christian nationalists, the Christian evangelicals. That's why they, donated mightily to Trump. They can't stand Trump, but they get their agenda moving. And they have the gall to claim that Iran is a religious, radical, extremist, and terrorist state. Everything is a projection. So, the rain. It's not looking so good down here in Mississippi, nor in Alabama, Louisiana. Let's just see. What do we have? 0 active severe weather warnings. That's good. All right. We have a really crazy country, and that's why we really need to work on ourselves so that we're not crazy and add to the craziness. Your community, it needs help. The animal shelters, the food banks, they need your help. Thank you for showing up tonight, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And wow, may you have good sleep, peaceful dreams. Good night, good luck. Ciao.